once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my channel. It is the Lewis Basketball Network, man, and I am back with another one, with another banger, with yet another video. My goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, the Houston Rockets, with Chris Paul, James Harden, and Mike D'Antoni, they are kind of slowly starting to remind me of LeBron and his Cavaliers. Because we know how LeBron has his LeBron system. And then you look at James Harden. The updated passport, dribble, step back, three-pointer. The kicking his legs out to make sure to over-exaggerate a foul just to make sure that he gets his free throw attempts. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 3 to 4 seasons, James Harden is averaging over 10 free throw attempts a game in the regular season. The same calls that James Harden gets in the regular season, he's not really going to get into in the postseason. And Chris Paul, who I have had immensely amount of respect for being one of the purest point guards, in NBA history, for being one of the greatest players ever, in the NBA and to play the point guard position. He has become follow the leader in James Harden in terms of trying to get the referees and to try to get foul calls. Here's a question that I have to ask for everybody who is so focused on the foul calls. On one hand, I agree that the referees missed calls in the first half. But like Jay Williams said this morning on Get Up, you have to try to play through that and make adjustments. Mike D'Antoni didn't make any adjustments. So ladies and gentlemen, answer this question for James Harden. How does a player jump forward on a step back? How? If anybody can tell me, please let me know. But why does Chris Paul, he scores 17 points but only gets 9 shot attempts in 36 minutes of play? Answer that question. How about the Rockets attempting 47 three-point shots compared to the Warriors' 22? How about in the fourth quarter, they rely on the James Harden ISO, and the Warriors, when Durant gets the mismatch, they go with Durant into the post, recognizing the mismatch, and he hit some tough shots, even though Durant was not playing well. James Harden is complaining about foul calls, but he only had 1 less free throw attempt than Durant. Really? On top of that, the Rockets got more foul calls than the Warriors. The Warriors committed more fouls than the Rockets did, and the Rockets got 2 more free throw attempts. The Rockets are crying like they should have 50 free throw attempts. So what does that tell me? That when you're so reliant on one style of play, it tells me you're not that good. Now, the Rockets are a good team. I'm not going to discredit them. And they still have a shot to knock off against Golden State. But in order for them to beat Golden State, they need to stop relying on the referees. They need to stop over-exaggerating calls. Because they didn't get them in the first half, they tried to make it blatantly obvious that I got fouled. Okay, when somebody kicks their legs out and spreads and lunges 5 feet forward from their landing spot, that's not a damn foul. I mean, definitely the last play of the game, when Draymond Green is contesting his shot and he turns his body away, if you look at it, James Harden goes into his landing area of where Draymond is contesting. And then he falls down and he's complaining about that. And then James Harden, I just want it to be a fair game, to make sure that we, that the right calls are fair, man. And I can live with the results. No, you can't live with it even if you got foul calls. Trust me, James Harden, you can't live with it knowing that you don't get your 10 plus free throw attempts a game and you got 14. Kevin Durant had 1 more than James Harden, and it's like even Chris Paul, and it's like I'm losing respect for him because it's like, so now Chris Paul is just going to be second fiddle to James Harden? Like, Chris Paul was brought to be able to control the pace of the game, be a floor general so that James Harden wouldn't have the ball in his hands. Yet Mike D'Antoni, who keeps talking about how James Harden is Steve Nash on steroids, has James Harden having control of the ball for most of the fourth quarter. Also, the Golden State Warriors out-rebounded the Houston Rockets by 12, which means the Rockets did not do a good job on the boards. How about that the Golden State Warriors had 20 turnovers and the Rockets really never took advantage of those turnovers? How about, why didn't Kenneth Faried play in the entire game? See, they want to focus so much on the foul calls, but the Rockets did a poor job of making adjustments during the game. And if they're going to beat the Golden State Warriors, They need to make adjustments. Forget about the referees. Just play your game and stop trying to force the referees to make a foul call. See, James Harden is so used to doing this that now the referees are having a hard time determining what's a foul and what's not. You can tell me, oh, if an offensive player does this and jumping, it's a foul. You see, people on ESPN are crying, talking about what's a foul and what's not. It's always been called a foul. And it's like, why are you so emotionally triggered over that? Because I realize that everybody is hating the Warriors so damn much that they really want to knock them off. See, look, if you beat the Golden State Warriors fair and square, that's completely fine. I got no problem with that. But when you're trying to manipulate, see, look, the Warriors are known to try to manipulate the refs too. I'm not going to give them a pass. But the Rockets do it just about every single game, and they complain like crazy, especially Paul, Harden, and Mike D'Antoni. Constantly. Draymond pretty much kind of does it a lot for the Golden State Warriors. I mean, people are so physical with Curry, but he doesn't get the calls that James Harden gets. And I don't know what the reason is. I'm not really sure. But if James Harden has to rely on referees, it just tells you that he's overrated. I've been saying it for the longest. And idiot people coming out here in comments saying, oh, James Harden is a better scorer than Kobe Bryant. Really? Because even with the amount of free throws that Kobe would get a game, Kobe still had a variety of ways to score. Much more skill than James Harden. Like, it's really ridiculous how the only real comparison you could say is that they're volume scores. But even Kobe has had a lot of seasons where he shot 46%, 46 to 47% if you round off some of the numbers. But James Harden, man, it's like, if the guy really has to rely on referee foul calls to get the majority of your points a lot from the free throw line, either step back or step forward threes where you leave off of your landing spot to jump into the defender and to say, oh, the defender fouled me. That's BS basketball. What is that? What is that? I'm actually glad that the referees didn't call that, because him and Paul were just, listen, I would not even give them an Academy Award for that BS acting that they did pretty much the entire second half. It's ridiculous, man. It's like, I want to respect you guys for the basketball players that you are, but it's like, you guys are crying way too much. And as my man, he knows his sport, always likes to say, James Harden is the Tony Romo, a.k.a. Zab Judah of basketball. Shout out to He Knows His Sport. But he's absolutely right on this. James Harden wants to show that he's the best player and he's deserving of the NBA, of the MVP, and he's arguably the best player in the NBA. Stop trying to rely on foul whistles. That means you're not that good if you're relying on that. It's truly pathetic what our game has become into, man. Look at Kevin Durant. People want to say how Kevin Durant is he's sensitive and all this kind of stuff, and he's like I said, and in one sense Kevin Durant is. And I've like I said, I held Kevin Durant accountable for the first two games against the Clippers. One game didn't matter because the Warriors were blowing out the Clippers. The second game mattered because the Clippers came back from 30-31 down, and they ended up beating the Warriors when the Warriors got lackadaisical. And Kevin Durant fouled out. At least in KD's response, he balled out. And all he did was just play well, and he scored in a variety of ways. And Kevin Durant was not trying to rely on the whistle. James Harden does. I mean, the Rockets had 14 steals in that game and chose not to. They didn't even take advantage of it. Also, PJ Tucker and Clint Capella had a combined 4 points. 4 points. Like, and Mike D'Antoni, and all I want to hear is, oh, we got to be. And look what Chris Paul said. He said we got to be smarter. He said I have to definitely be smarter because I can't get myself technical fouls. I missed 3 free throws because Chris Paul missed 3 free throws. So you didn't take advantage of the fouls that you were given. Chris Paul took 7. I bet Curry probably only took like 2 or 3, most likely, for the game. So Chris Paul had 4 more free throws than Curry. It may not be a lot, but it's still more. And James Harden took 1 less free throw than Kevin Durant. But the Rockets got more shot attempts. Oh, it was only 2. They should have had more. They should have had like 30, 40 to 50 free throw attempts. which means that now the Rockets are trying to get, and now they want to complain that the refs are in the favor of the Warriors. I'm sorry, man. I'm not buying that. It was a poorly officiated game on both sides. I said it, man. I said it. It's like, so we're not going to talk about the push-offs that Harden was doing. We're not going to we're not going to talk about how many times he kicked his leg out. Chris Paul was doing the same thing. How about focus on trying to make the shot instead of trying to get foul calls? This is why I said I'm not a fan of their style of play, because to me, that does not produce a championship team. People could talk about LeBron. At least LeBron is efficient in his style of play, and he tries to look for the best shot. But Chris Paul and James Harden, and it's like now they're so baited into shooting threes. Eric Gordon shooting threes. Like I said, this is only going to work if they get hot. And I said it, remember now, Andre Iguodala is healthy. The Warriors didn't play a great game. Neither did the Rockets, and it was still there for the Rockets to win. They were so focused on trying to get foul calls that it took away from a lot of things that they weren't paying attention to, and that's why they lost the game. And the Warriors played well down the stretch. They played well down the stretch. Even if the game was right there for the Rockets to take. They made some big plays. And Steph Curry hit a big-time three without even trying to draw the foul. He went straight up because he got the mismatch on Nene Hilario. Crossed him over and shot the three straight. Didn't even try to throw himself and try to land, even though Curry is at times known for that. Because now Harden wants to use the thing, oh, remember what happened to Kawhi last year? Are you trying to blame that on the Warriors when that was Zaza? Because he's making it seem like if everybody was trying to injure Kawhi Leonard, when Zaza was the one that chose to land in his spot. And the thing is that it changed the series because Kawhi Leonard could have played, but Pop was the one that chose to shut him down. And the very next year, what he had was a quad injury, not the ankle injury. So, and it's like, it's very sad, man, that I would have been a fan, but it's like, I'm not a fan of the style of play anymore because it's like all these guys want to do is just, bitch and moan and cry to the referees. Like it's retarded, man. Honestly, like I don't understand. It just tells you that James Harden is not as skilled as people keep thinking he is, and he's this unbelievable scorer. That means he's really more of a limited offensive player. You take away his free throws, you take away his step back threes. What does Harden do on the court? And defensively, he really wasn't that great neither. So let's be honest. And Chris Paul even said that he has to play better defensively because Chris Paul was not that good defensively neither. And they were still able to get 14 steals in the game. And what's so crazy is it was a close game, and yet the Rockets only shot 42% and the Warriors shot 51%. How about their interior defense? Because that was not great. The Warriors were plus 12 in the paint. So your interior defense wasn't great. Your rebounding wasn't good. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and the Warriors committed more fouls. They didn't play that great game. The Warriors are going to pay more attention. So if the Rockets are going to win this series, they need to do a better job of stop relying on the referees and make adjustments. They need to focus on how to get Clint Capella more involved, how to get PJ Tucker more involved. How about trying to take less threes? Listen, that may be their style of play, but they honestly think if this is going to help them win in a 7-game series, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. People are being very delusional. If they win, they win. But they're trying to get the rest in their hip pockets to make sure that the Golden State Warriors, don't win. And it's like, because now what they want to do is they want to label the Golden State Warriors cheaters, because they've had the benefit of the whistle. I'm not saying that the Warriors haven't had the benefit of the whistle. They have. But it's pretty sad on what the Rockets are doing, especially for two superstar players who at one time I really thought that I had a lot of respect for. I mean, because they're going to talk about this whole physical play and this landing. I'm like, but we're not even going to talk about how last year Chris Paul elbowed Kevin Durant in the glute area in the Western Conference Finals last year. Because Chris Paul is low-key dirty. He just doesn't get called out for it. He doesn't get called out for it. And like I said, this isn't a hating video. My point is that the Rockets need to stop crying and just play. You're good defensively. Play defense. Offensively, share the basketball. Move your bodies. Stop relying on James Harden and let Chris Paul run the team, run the offense. Get Clint Capella, get PJ Tucker involved, man. Get these other guys involved. Move your body, move yourselves, man. Move the basketball. You're going to get better shots when you do that because the Warriors defense is going to be constantly in motion. You're going to get them moving, and eventually there's going to be something open, whether it's a drive to the basket, a lob, or a three-point shot, or even probably a mid-range shot. And that's the thing with the Rockets. They live and die by the three. The Warriors took 25 less three-point attempts. And that's why they were plus 12 in the paint, because they took the ball to the basket, something that the Rockets were not doing. The Warriors took more mid-range and more drives to the basket than the Rockets, who settled for the threes. The Rockets made 7 more threes, but they were missing a lot of them. It was looking like Game 7 at some point last year, like when I was watching that game like yesterday. So the Warriors didn't play their best, and the Rockets still had a chance. So we have to stop with this whole thing. Let's just blame it on the refs. Because for example, let's say that the Warriors play a great game and the Rockets don't even have it all night. Are we going to sit here and blame the referees as to why the Rockets lost Game 2 as well? Because now what I've started to notice from the Rockets is that they're full of excuses. Like, just stop, man. And I've been saying it for the longest. James Harden is overrated. He's overrated. That's not hating. It's the damn truth. I don't care who doesn't like it. James Harden is overrated. And what I'm noticing is that this is why really Kevin Durant is honestly the best player out of him, Harden, and Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook relies on athleticism and on his style of play, where he makes poor decisions and has low IQ. James Harden takes step back, step forward threes and relies on the referees for his free throw attempts. And both of them are inefficient. Kevin Durant, on the other hand, is much more skilled than the both of them. Now, James Harden and Russell Westbrook have skills, but Kevin Durant is more skilled and he's more efficient than the both of them. In the playoffs, KD has made 55% of his shots without relying on a foul. That's without fouls. He's shooting 55%. That is great efficiency. Oh, well, he's Kevin Durant and he can shoot. But see, Kevin Durant could be doing the same thing that both of those guys are. But Kevin Durant is actually playing a much smarter game. And that's why by being with the Golden State Warriors. So if James Harden really wants to talk about fair, him and Chris Paul are two hypocrites. And Mike D'Antoni's another one too. That's why I said that right now, his 7 seconds or less offense worked in Phoenix. But this style of play is making D'Antoni look overrated by the minute. It's making him look overrated. James Harden should not have the ball in his hands so much. And if you want him to put it in the fourth quarter, it should be in moments. And James Harden and Chris Paul, if they lose this series, they're going to be known as chokers. I'm sorry. When the moment gets tough, they're always trying to rely on something instead of trying to make a play. And they're going to lose, and then it's going to be like the Warriors are going to get all this hate and all these excuses. No, if you want to beat the Warriors, beat them fair and square. Do your best to beat them the right way, not trying to rely on something. Now, we'll see what happens in Game 2 tomorrow night, but quite honestly, I'm not liking the style of play by the Rockets. They need to be better, because what I want to see is good competitive basketball, and it was pretty much competitive despite the calls of the referees and all that. It's a mixed reaction. Some people felt like that the refs called a good game. Others feel like the refs screwed up the game for the Rockets. It's in the books, ladies and gentlemen. You need to get over it. It's time for a new game. The Rockets just understand that Chris Paul's got to play better. James Harden needs to find a way to be efficient. If James Harden is going to play this way the entire series and the Rockets don't hit shots and D'Antoni does not do something about his rotations and make adjustments, then I'm telling you right now, D'Antoni is going to be overrated as a coach. And I'm talking about him with the Houston Rockets, not with other teams in the league. Houston Rockets only is what I'm talking about. Don't talk about James Harden anywhere else. I'm talking about James Harden as a Houston Rocket currently. The reigning MVP. And I'm talking about Chris Paul, one of the greatest floor generals and greatest point guards and the best pure point guard in the game in Chris Paul. They're going to be known as chokers. And all they're going to be told is you're just a regular season player. And Chris Paul, when the moment gets too tough, it's like, you find a way to fold. Even though Chris Paul has had good postseasons in his career, but all he's doing right now is just being James Harden's sidekick. Like he's like a definite Robin right now. And Chris Paul should have the ball a little bit more. But they don't really run anything. So You know, we'll see what happens in game 2, man. But it's like I said, man, they need to stop relying on the referees. So it's getting ridiculous right now. All this complaining, all this whining, all this crying. And it's like what Draymond said. Like James Harden has fouled so many players on his 3-point attempts with his legs out and lunging into players to try to draw contact. But now he wants here to want to talk to the media and say, oh, I just want to be fair for both sides, man. Make sure you get the calls right. It just tells you. And look, people forget about this too. When Clint Capella and the Rockets, they finished beating the Jazz in 5 games, Clint Capella sat there and said, I want the Warriors. Chris Paul kind of looked at him as kind of like, yo, are you crazy? Are you crazy? Like, yo, you can't be talking like that, like big, that bold. And on top of that, the Rockets already made their way into the Bay Area right before the Warriors finished with the Clippers, showing no respect to the Clippers. So what I'm saying is, if all of that is being said and done, and the Rockets lose this series, I'm telling you right now, those guys can never look at themselves the same again. And I'm just going to say, I told you, your team is overrated. And low-key, with their style of play and trying to be reliant on one thing, they're starting to look like more so of LeBron and his Cavaliers from when they used to play. So anyway, this is Lewis with another one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, man. As always, bless up. My love. Peace. Thanks for watching.